Well, Nicholas Gibbs, thank you so much for joining me today in a time where the craziness has settled down a bit,
Maybe.
maybe. So, so I said last week that it would settle down this week, and I got that one right. I'm kind of on a roll. I really should stop predicting now. I had a friend of mine who bowled like a 280 the very first time they ever bowled, so they never bowled again. It's just like, I might
I
as
wouldn't either.
I can tell people I've got a 280 average. So anyway, but what have you thought about the market this last few days and about Tesla's last few days? Anything come to mind?
No, I hope this continues. I've been making a lot of money because of it.
Oh, good.
So you can see volatility's collapsing. My covered calls are very profitable. So yeah, things been good. Um, See the markets calm down a little bit. I mean, volatility has definitely gotten crushed. In fact, even if you look at after hours right now, it's continuing to get crushed. I mean, we're almost into the 20s on the VIX.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is you know, 30 to 20 is a great zone to be in for someone like me who, when it comes to options, I trade volatility.
Yeah, I understand. Well, okay, I sent you a list. I'd love to go over this list. And um, commonly, when we get into the earnings season, people put out questions. They put them up on Say, and everybody votes on what the best questions would be. And I thought I'd reverse it. I thought I'd make it a list of the questions or the comments or the things that we need to hear at the earnings call, or if we don't hear about them, or if we get the wrong answers or the wrong guidance, that it could be kind of rough on the stock the next day. So I just have a list of four. So I thought we might go through these. So my first one on the list would be a reconfirm. Hello, need a reconfirmation of the robotaxi rollout, preferably with some target number of taxis or cities or some other kinds of KPIs. So what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get KPIs or target number or anything like that, but I do agree. I mean, I think Elon's been doing that, reconfirming it, but saying on an earnings call when we're, you know, say at most 2.5 months away from the end of June, I think would be good. Not bullish. I wouldn't say bullish, but I would say good because I think right now a lot of this anticipation is what is keeping the stock hanging out here.
Right. So some people would say that the base valuation of Tesla, just the bending metal and energy storage part, is probably only worth 200 or $225 a share. Some people would say even less. And so all the rest of it would be an option on Robotaxi and Optimus. Um, so I was said the other day on X that I think that when we are at 480 or 488, that 200 over 200 points was an optionality on Robotaxi and Optimus. Is that kind of your sense of it also?
Um, yeah, it's hard to put numbers to it. Um, I think the problem is it's messy because you also have you don't know what's real. Like I think that just the vehicle business plus energy business, I think the market would probably value that closer to like 150
Okay.
is what I think would be realistic. I think the fact that we're at 250 right now is because a lot of us are holding on to our shares because we don't want to sell out, even if we're scared, even if things are going crazy, even if we're like, oh, we need to be conservative, because we are not selling before when we're 2.5 months at high at most away from the day we've been waiting for all these years
Right.
to actually see robotaxi start from Tesla. So there's a lot of us that are just saying, I don't care what the market's doing, we're not selling. But I think there's also a lot of people that believe in that future, believe in the valuation potential, but there was a lot of noise, a lot of chaos, and they said, you know what? I can get back in later.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think 150 is probably roughly what everything's worth. A lot of us who refuse to sell are still in it for this narrative of Optimus and Robotaxi. That I think there's enough of us to have it around 250 and maintain that. But then that 400 plus that you're talking about, I think that's a lot of people who were getting excited and like, okay. But I think it's bullish in the sense that that tells you that there are a lot of people on the sidelines
Mhm.
that understand the story, but they're just choosing when to dive in.
Right.
And right now, with all the noise, they're like, well, let's pull back. So, so
So,
that's kind of how I think about it.
and so when do you think the FOMO would start with regard to Robotaxi? Do you think it would happen as we get closer to June? Do you think it would happen after June, the day that it rolls out? When do you, based on a history of watching these kind of releases, when do you think the FOMO is most likely to really start coming in?
You know, I don't think you can pinpoint it because this is something that we haven't seen anything quite like this. Um, I've been saying all along that I thought that we would see the worst of all this tariff noise come April 2nd because we would at least know what it's going to be.
Mhm.
I was wrong because we saw even more violent moves. But a week out from that, we're kind of right back where we were.
Yeah.
So maybe not, maybe I wasn't that wrong. But what I've been saying all along was that by May 1st, all this should be over because the jockeying between countries, whatever, would be messy in April. So I've said May 1st would be when I think, people might start looking at Tesla again. But you also don't know. One comment from Elon on the call could send it in either direction.
Another
Keep in
direction.
mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I don't know when. I do. I mean, honestly, the most ironic situation would be if there is no run up, even after they launch it.
Right, right,
That would be hilarious, actually.
right.
Like that would honestly, I would hate that, but I would be hard not to find the humor in that.
Right, right. That's true. Okay. All right.
So
So,
I don't know. What do you think? What are
well,
you
no,
thinking?
we're pretty darn well aligned on the timing. I do think there will be FOMO. I do think we will have a continuation of slight increase in the price of Tesla going into the earnings meeting, where Gary Black today came out and said exactly the opposite. But he could be right.
Wait, you you think we're gonna see the stock go up into
It's
earnings?
slightly up as it did today. There's only four more days before we get to earnings, trading days. So I think we'll see slight upticks in the price of Tesla going into earnings. Yes.
Okay, so that's where we disagree. I think we pretty much stay here into
Okay.
earnings,
Well,
and
that
I think
Gary thinks we'll be
yeah,
down. So take your pick, right?
yeah. I think if it was gonna run up, it would have run up right now. I think right now everybody's like, all right, we're gonna hold and see on this one.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a massive move. I'm talking about, I just think it'll be generally up, like kind of like today, up a couple of points, up a couple of dollars each day, 2, 3, 4.5, maybe, you know how it goes. Anyway, that's my theory. And I also think that the FOMO will start. There's some in this in the numbers that I'm talking about. Some of the reason I think it'll be up going into earnings is in fact FOMO over Robotaxi, because I think that Elon will say he will confirm or reconfirm the June date in the meeting, and that will continue the FOMO because we're getting close enough to where if you're saying that's the date, it's the date.
Okay,
Okay.
but you don't think there's gonna be people who are hesitant on the chance that Elon delays it, just like he delayed the We Robot Day?
Of course, it could always happen. I just think that this time there's more.
This time's different.
I think it's just more. Well, let's put it this way. You and I think, talked about this a few weeks ago. I think they're driving a car right now that's ready to go. That that the Transportation Department of Texas has already ridden in this car. They've already seen the data. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that it's gonna be on time. I think listen, I think I'm the only person that's called the one time Tesla stock was gonna go up after earnings in the last 2 years.
And that
It
was a
was a bold
shock.
call.
We were all surprised.
I don't think this is gonna be a up one afterwards.
Okay.
Maybe a few days later, maybe into May, I I have a suspicion that we're gonna have a decent pull sell off.
Now, do you know that your reason, well, I don't know if your reason, well, I can't remember now why you thought it was going to go up, but everybody now believes that if Elon's in a good mood, it'll go up. So
No.
that's not your reason? No.
No. I think it'll go down because I don't think there's I don't think there's going to be anything new that he's going to say.
Hmm.
I think he's going to say the same things. I think he's probably going to sound excited, whatever. I mean, it's going to be no different than the last earnings call. And he's very repetitive when he speaks.
Right.
It's hard to get him to say something new.
Right.
And I just don't think he's going to say something new. He
Right.
has to say something new, I think, in order to move the stock. But even then, even last time, the stock sold off after.
Yeah. Well, yes, but yeah. Did it sell off after immediately? I can't remember. I didn't remember. So let's go to number two, because number two would be the thing you're talking about. So number two, I think, has to be on the list of things that he says at the earnings call is reconfirmation of Model Q, preferably with a reveal date or at least a reconfirmation that it's coming in the first half.
Yeah. And so, interestingly enough, those are essentially the first two questions right now voted
Oh,
on
is
sale.
that right?
Yeah, those are the
Interesting.
top ones. So the first one is when will FSD unsupervised be? Well, sort of.
Okay.
When will? All right, never mind. The first one is not. The second one is Tesla still on track for releasing a more affordable models this year, or will you be focusing on simplified versions to enhance affordability, similar to the real wheel Cybertruck? That's a good question.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep.
So I agree with you. I think Wall Street wants to see more vehicles.
Right.
I think that would be great. I don't think it's necessary, but we'll see.
Okay. And again, this would be, however, a reconfirmation that that's coming, I think would move the stock up. Because you're too, again, that would be because that's where the confusion about Model Q. I mean, even again, I'm picking on Gary Black, but Gary Black said today he's beginning to believe that maybe it is just a stripped down model of the Model Y. And he was absolutely convinced a week ago that it was going to be a completely new vehicle.
Yeah. I still think with the way they've said everything, it sounds like a new vehicle. So I'm still, I mean, but that's the thing. Like they might have changed their mind.
Right, that's
You
true.
know, here's how I see it as an investor. All right, like there's two ways to look at it. One, you can see it as like just an individual, a person who's looking at what they say and all that, and think about your feelings. If I'm thinking about my feelings, yeah, if they don't do new vehicles, I'll feel a little misled because they pretty much said that these will be new models, and now they're not going to have them. You know, be like, well, that really sucks. Like you said this, turns out you changed your mind, and you never told us. We had to ask you before you told us. If I'm looking at it as an investor, the only reason I think that they would not continue with these new models would be because they see such significant progress with FSD and rolling out robo taxis that it's pointless to roll out new models. And so, from an investor perspective, I actually, and this is a contrarian point of view, I think, would be bullish on that. And that's not me just, giving them a defense or excuse,
Right.
but you tell me the reason. If FSD is working so well, if it's working in China, if they are maybe testing in India now, if they're about to launch in Europe, what do you need another form factor for?
I agree.
Like,
I know 100%, 100% agree. Larry said on Monday or last Friday, uh, based on my prompt, and I've said this even before that day, I don't think that they're going to be selling cars by 2028. They'll only be making cars for the fleet or for other people's fleet. They won't be selling
I
cars.
hope.
They won't be selling cars for individual use. It'll just be pointless. You'll sell the car for individual use, and that person will just be inundated with phone calls of people that will offer them more money to put it in the fleet. So,
Yeah. I think they'll start making vehicles without steering wheels and pedals. And to your point, that'd probably be more for the fleet, because like, what's the point of that? Like, and there gets to a certain point, in my opinion, I wouldn't allow you to buy a Tesla without buying FSD.
yeah, at a certain point.
Like like it's like if you want to buy this car, you have to pay for the subscription as well.
Mhm.
Look, if you buy this iPhone, you got to have the subscription with AT&T. It's how it works.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, so number three for me would be the battery solution. We've been hanging for 12, 13 weeks by the time this happens, 12 weeks so far, 13 weeks by next week. They said they had a limitation with regard to batteries. Nobody asked the question. So we need clarity. I'm shocked that that isn't the number one item on say right now, because everybody that I know, maybe you're different, but Larry, I mean, just go down the list. Everybody, that's their number one question. What's going on with batteries? I'd love to have like a 15-minute talk just on what's going on with batteries.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I'm giving a little too much credit to the uh the analysts here, but I I would hope that they ask during their portion of the call. I would hope that they look at say and be like, okay, what are the questions that aren't being asked?
Right,
But they didn't do it last time, right? Like we don't have a chance to have a follow up
right.
after we hear everything they've said, right? So I think I hope they do. But I agree that that is an interesting one. But again, I'm not worried about it. I just to me that goes back to talking about vehicle production. I don't care about vehicle production. I only care about FSD and robotaxis. It's irrelevant. Like to me, you know what? I honestly think this first question that's voted up here on say is a much better question than anything to do with vehicle production, new models, or anything. The question is, when will FSD unsupervised
Right.
be available for personal use on personally owned cars?
Right.
I think that's a much better question.
I think it's a lovely question, and I think it really just all plays into the same, question with regard to FSD for robotaxi. Whether it will be before, during, or after is inconsequential to me. It'll be lovely because you'll no longer have the nag, but it's the same question. So I'm good with either one of those or both.
Well, the reason I like it though is because I think FSD unsupervised is a forcing mechanism for everybody who has a Tesla to potentially go ahead and subscribe. There's
Mhm.
so many people who don't subscribe because
Oh,
it's annoying.
it's annoying.
I have to take it out of FSD to use my cell phone.
Right, right,
Like
exactly. I know.
like that's more dangerous. It's perverse.
Well, anyway, I do think the battery question is important because I do like the whole company. So, and I think a lot of people do. A lot of people like the cars, a lot of people like energy, whatever it is, they're in for a different reason than just the robotaxi, or they haven't fully bought the robotaxi story. So I do think that getting the battery question answered is very, very important for the overall forward look of the company.
Do you think there's really people who are invested in Tesla who aren't in it for the robotaxi story?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh, I think a lot of individuals and institutions are in it because it's the number one BEV in the world. It's the only American, American success story in the car industry for 100 years. Because everybody else, because there's a general sense that it's going to go to the moon. I don't know. Yeah, I think there'd be lots of reasons.
Man, I feel like everybody who's in it is in it for
What protects the
autonomy. I don't think there's I really don't think so. I don't think any institutional investor is invested because they think it's going to go to the moon, or because, well, it's an American made, or most people don't even think that they're leaders in BEVs anymore. Or not most, but a lot of people don't. So I think the play is autonomy.
Well, yeah, I do too. I agree with that. But again, I guess you read some of these guys who say the value, that the stock is overvalued at 250, and they're in the
But
stock.
I don't think they're in the stock.
Oh,
You're
you
reading analysts. They're not in the stock.
I see. So they're telling you to buy, no, they're not necessarily telling you to buy it. Actually, some of them actually tell you to buy it, even though they say that it's less that the stock is overvalued.
Yeah,
Confusing thing. All right,
analysts.
number four on my list. You said, vehicles don't matter to you, but Cybertruck, I just think it's part of the story. It's a negative that's kind of hanging over the story right now. Growing concerns about production, volume, and demand. So I would love to hear at the call, and feel like it would help the stock if there was an update on Cybertruck that gave positivity to both the capability of producing in volume, and also the fact that there's still demand, which there has to be. I haven't gotten a note from them forever offering me to buy. So, and I've got $100 in on it. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's really a Cybertruck demand problem. I think there's a lot of demand. It's more of a price point. You're only going to have so many people who are going to be purchasing that top echelon vehicle, and I think we are in a very tumultuous environment with interest rates, the craziness in the stock market. People are, I think, a little worried about potentially getting laid off. Housing prices in my opinion, have dropped. They definitely have in Florida. So I think a lot of people have seen their net worth contract. Rates are still high. There's uncertainty in the world. So I think the last thing they're doing is either shelling out 60, 70, 80, 90, 100K for a vehicle, let alone taking a loan out for that. So I think it's got a lot more to do with that than anything. I do think there's still a lot of demand out there. It's just at what price?
yeah. So I just think uncertainty, clearing up uncertainty about the product that has had been so hyped, that's kind of supposed to be what's wrong with me? The Halo, not the Halo product.
Mhm.
Is that what it is? Halo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Halo product.
Halo product. Yeah. So just love to hear that maybe maybe something as simple as production's great. We're ramping. It's good. No problems. We're all good.
Yeah, I mean, I also think people, it's greater than zero the amount of people who have said, "Well, no, I don't want a Cybertruck because I don't want to be targeted and have a swastika drawn on my vehicle." Like,
Greater than zero is absolutely true. 100%. I
yeah,
believe that. I think it's probably the main car. I think more than the other cars, it would be more likely that people would say,
exactly.
let me, I'm not going to, more of a target on that one. Okay. Anything I should have added to the list? Anything I missed?
Um, I think there's like a lot of nuance. Like, I asked my questions and say, I can't even find them. There's so many questions. Um, but the questions I asked were, when you launch robo taxis in Austin, will there be a human supervisor in the vehicle? And if so, how long or what metrics would you use to remove that safety driver?
Mhm, mhm.
The other question I asked was, when robotaxi launches in Austin, will you be using any of the cyber cabs as well?
Oh, would you have 20 or
Right.
40 or, yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting to know. Um, I had a third question. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think, I asked, what cities do you anticipate would follow
Mhm,
Austin for
mhm,
scaling?
mhm.
Say, or I said, what are the top 5 cities beyond Austin that you see FSD would or a robotaxi would come to
Right.
after Austin.
Right.
So just I think it's good to understand that pipeline of what cities to be expected, and I think answering that question would probably move the stock.
So now, if it was me, I would follow Waymo around, and not to compete with them. I would follow them around because the concept is already known in that city. So coming to West LA, coming to San Francisco, going to Phoenix, I think it is, going to these cities where Waymo is already existing, there's already an established idea of a driverless vehicle. So it's not as much of a distraction to people, not as likely to be picked on by people because they've already had their chance to pick on Waymo. So anyway, that's why I would just follow them around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So switching subjects, you did a post the other day. You said that you're not as anxious about this as a lot of people are, but you think there's finally a serious reason to start an advertising campaign on a big time
Oh,
level because of FSD. So tell me your story.
I just think it's the morally right thing to do. Um, I drive it every day. I see how much safer it is. I was in a couple cars over the last few days with other people, seeing them drive, and it's just it's it's honestly wild to see how dangerous other people are. Even though I wouldn't have seen it if I'm not so used to being driven by FSD every single day,
Right.
but nobody stops at stop signs. Everybody rolls them. You see people swerving. They're grabbing their phone. They're not in a straight line. The way they accelerate, missing turns and direction. I mean, it's it's honestly like, man, like it feels so archaic. But then when you think about, like, one of the leading causes of death for children is car accidents. It's just, it gets to a point where I feel like it's uh it's imperative for the man who talks about humanity so much and making babies, that even if he doesn't believe in advertising, what he has built, what his team has built, will save lives, will save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of lives. And I just think there's not enough people that know about FSD.
Mhm, mhm.
And if they did, I think they would buy it and use it. And the truth is, most people who need it could afford it, because it is a high cost of entry to get FSD. You need to buy a Tesla, and then you need to be able to, and then you subscribe, are older people.
Mhm.
And the truth is, a lot of older people get their advertisement through the television.
Right.
So I just think, even if it's inefficient, if it's capital inefficient,
Mhm.
I think it's I think doing the morally right thing is better than being the most capital efficient, especially when we can afford to do it. And especially when it's still going to drive revenue into your own pocket.
Right. Yeah. So you were talking about the things that we do in the car. And of course, one of those is eat while driving. I came to the conclusion many, many years ago that McDonald's became the largest chain of hamburgers, of fast food, because they make the hamburger and cheeseburger, the basic ones, so easy to eat while driving.
Yeah. Not that Big Mac.
Not the Big Mac, but if you buy the regular hamburger or the regular cheeseburger, I mean, it's easy to you can take care of that. You're not going to drip it all over yourself. I think that was how they probably don't even know that that's the reason, but I'm telling them now.
You're probably right.
All right,
Taco Bell is hard to eat in the car.
so getting away from Tesla for a minute, but a related story is that the US has banned Nvidia H2O chips. This happened like an hour before we came on air. And Nvidia says they're going to take a 5.5 billion hit on earnings in the first quarter. And their stock went down 6% last time I checked. In the after hours, the overall market took a drop. Tesla came down a couple of bucks in the after hours as a result of this. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. What are my thoughts? My thoughts are that you can see that the craziness is definitely not over yet. Um, Something like everything is down. Nvidia's down 6% right now. Yeah,
Yep,
it's down to 105 right now in aftermarket. It's probably going to go down lower tomorrow. Um, I really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in the big scheme of things.
right.
Uh, but it's a big deal because this is what it could look like for any of these other companies. So you're going to see right across the board. You'll probably see a decent down day tomorrow, which goes against your theory there, Andy, of going up every day. Tesla's actually down more right now, twice the amount of what it was up today.
Yeah,
Uh, so there's that.
yeah,
But
there.
uh, but the market's going to look through this. Tomorrow. You'll probably see it more. Tomorrow, Thursday are going to be interesting. They should be lighter days because the markets close on Friday.
Right.
Uh, Obviously, we got Easter coming up, Good Friday coming up. Um, so the market will be closed. Interestingly, options all expire on Thursday. So that's
Oh,
another
oh,
wrinkle.
interesting.
I
Oh,
think it's the only time this year that options will expire on a Thursday versus
wow.
Friday.
Oh, wow.
So that's really, really interesting, actually. But yeah, I mean, Tesla's about to be at 249. I think with a lighter volume over the next 2 days, I wouldn't be surprised to see things sell off a little bit.
Okay, so you have Nvidia being hit with this ban. It's not exactly a ban. They said that they are requiring a license, and so I guess like they did last time, they have to enter into negotiations specifically on this one with the government to prove, I guess, that it's not a security risk. Do you think it really had anything to do with the security, or do you think that this was tit for tat on the Boeing announcement this morning from China saying that they're putting a hold on Boeing orders?
It's probably a mix of things. I think that was probably the biggest impetus for it. But we know that there's been a lot of NVIDIA chips being sneaked into China through Korea, Vietnam,
Right,
and Singapore.
right.
So, and none of those are supposed to be going over there. That's why this whole DeepSeek thing's a joke. um, but I do think that the Boeing announcement this morning, I mean, it was a big impetus, right? It hit them where it hurts.
Yeah, yeah.
Now the question is, are they actually going to be able to stop it? I mean, if Nvidia sells to some random company in California, and
Yep.
then that company, like, who's to say what they do with it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
No,
know?
it's really, really hard. And I can't, I don't think David Sachs probably was too happy with this decision since I think most of the AI community really feels like it'd be better to go open source and just let people fight it out in the, what was the whole thing today with the patents? Elon saying, yeah, get rid of all patents and all trademarks. That won't happen ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at least it's a kind of an attitude right now of let's fight it out. No pads, no face shields, no what do they call those teeth things anyway. Um,
Denters.
no, not dentures. No, the things that protect your teeth.
Oh, mouth guards.
Guards, yeah, no mouth guards. So there's just the idea I think right now among the people that I'm listening to, like BG2 and whatnot, is that if you restrict these things from going into China, all you do is put more pressure on them to develop their own, and so that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I think there are elements of that is true, but with that said, I also there look. I don't know if it's the diversity of the United States. I don't know if it's the government structure. If it's like there's something about the United States that's different that has allowed us to be so successful, to have such unique ingenuity, creativity, problem solving. Not to say that they don't have that in China, but when it comes to doing groundbreaking things, it really comes out of the United States.
Yeah,
It
and I
doesn't
think
really come out of anywhere else. Now, I would say when it comes to making things better, China pretty much, I think, has a handle on it for a lot of things. And then when it comes to doing low cost copycats, obviously China is there as well. But I don't think that, I don't know what it is. There's just a certain factor. And honestly, I think probably a lot of it is that we just get a lot of the talent that wants to come here. It's like our brand as a country is you can come here and you can make it and you can do your own thing and you can like we are the country where our brand is opportunity. And that does it. Like that draws a certain type of person.
yeah,
Where even if they go to university in at Cambridge or at a top university in China, there's a draw to the United States. There's a certain energy that is contagious and it brings all those people here and then they work here and then they build here.
100%.
Like,
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, we bring in all these people from New Zealand, from South Africa, from Spain, from I don't know, all my co-hosts are are
yeah.
are so funny that that's just where it's so amazing. All right. So,
It's like a company.
yeah.
Sorry, real quick. It's like a company, right? A company, you had like IBM and HP and Dell, and they were these huge, amazing companies, dominating data centers and everything. But then you had cloud computing come in, and it was a whole different world.
Right.
And even that didn't do anything for those companies when they were deprived. They were getting their revenue crushed, their margins crushed. And what do they do? Like you have this happens all the time. You look at Sears, you look Kmart, right? This happens. And so just like I feel like companies have certain cultures, people, really smart talent gets attracted to those companies. And I feel like countries are very similar in that way. I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you're a contrarian, at least some of the time. Mutual fund managers are the most bearish they have been in 30 years. What does that say to you?
Time to buy.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So would you believe? I mean, I think we asked the question last week. We were down. I don't remember what we were down last Tuesday, but we got down to the place where we're down 20% off of on the S&P off of all-time highs. I said at the time I thought it was knee jerk. I thought we would respond right back to the 10, which we did. That was probably my best call last week. I think I don't think we're going to retrace that. Yeah, we could retrace part of it, but I don't think we ever get back to that 20 again. And that the VIX is now returned from 53 all the way back down, as you pointed out, to a 2 handle or a 20 handle, depending on how you want to call that.
Yeah.
29
30,
to 30 now.
30, 12.
It was at 28, 29 earlier today.
Yep.
This would suggest that we're going to be going up from here. As you just pointed out, I agree with you. I think it's going to be May or into May before we actually start that bull run. What is that kind of how you're seeing it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think April is kind of a clearing out month. Um, I think March was too actually, but I think come May, it's not even just that it'll be a clearing out. It's going to be. I think part of it is that I think the market gets tired after a certain point, and it's like, okay, we get it. There's going to be tariffs. There's going to be jockeying back and forth, and you kind of just get numb to it, and it's okay. On to the next story. Like if you think about it, when was the last time we talked about Elon and the administration?
Yeah,
It's that's old news now.
yes, yes, yes.
And that's going to happen here soon with tariffs. Mark my words. Soon it'll become old news. But it won't be resolved yet. This will probably take a while to resolve.
Yeah,
But it's no different than the war in Ukraine. when Russia invaded and you had all this stuff, like it was the same thing then,
Yeah.
right? We had all this noise, right? With the Fed. The Fed was all this noise,
Right.
but eventually it's like, okay, we get it. The Fed's raising rates. Okay, the Fed's on hold. Okay, they did a couple cuts. Okay, we don't know what they're going to do. All right, Russia's in Ukraine. That's ongoing. Whatever. Well, on to the next thing. On to the next thing. Eventually, the market absorbs the news, even if it doesn't get settled,
Right.
and the market moves on to something else.
Well, and that would then go to something that you never like to talk about, which history. So historically, when you have a 10% correction, if you're going to reverse that correction, it only takes 3 to 4 months. So that seems to be pretty much in the same ballpark.
I hear you, but the only problem with looking at history, not to
I
say anything
know.
wrong with it, is that every single metric we just made history in the last
Right.
two
Boy,
weeks. So we just made history.
boy.
So what do we do with that? You
Yeah,
know?
what we do with that is you say, Randy, congratulations on recognizing that other 10% was just a knee jerk, just a knee jerk reaction, and it wasn't going to last. All right, Brian Wong says he calls it the bad news is all built in now. That it's really hard to come up with a really bad news scenario other than China maybe going forward. Like China, what would the bad news be? They really, really mean it when they say they're not going to ship us the rare earths. I don't know. What would be your worst case scenario coming out of China?
Mm, I guess worst case scenario would be that they nationalized the Tesla factory.
Oh, that would be a worst case scenario.
That'd be pretty bad.
That'd be pretty bad. That'd be pretty bad.
They revoked Tesla's ability to launch FSD.
In China,
Hmm.
I would see that as less important. It would hit the stock, but I don't think that's, you know, I've always looked at least the robo taxi in China as being not that important.
Mm, I think it's important.
The profits for taking a driver out of the car in China who's only charging $5 a day or $10 a day to sit in that car is not nearly as cool as it is here.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say those are the main things.
Okay.
But I don't. I really don't think it's going to get to that point. I think that I, I think that it just seems like they're both slowly coming to the middle. You know, like they're both saying kind of things. I mean, maybe it doesn't feel like that with the Boeing announcement, but it just I don't know. It kind of feels like it's slowly they're making their way.
Well, I think part of it would be that Trump turned it over to Besant, which would have been the what would you call it? The quiet, confident man in the room. Would have been a signal, I think, to China. Although I would think that Trump would want to go over and negotiate it himself. I mean, like eyeball to eyeball with Xi Jinping.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how I read the Boeing announcement by China. I I see that as a strategic move for negotiations, so that when they want something, they can be like, okay, we'll start buying from Boeing again.
Oh, yeah, right,
And then it's like I didn't give anything up really.
right,
Like
right.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're creating your cards right now
yeah.
for negotiation. So that's why I kind of saw it as a good thing. I could be wrong. I could be completely misreading it, but I think you see a lot of that when someone's trying to negotiate. All of a sudden, they're trying to make sure they got everything they can to have a strong hand.
Mhm.
Because like now China has something that they can say that they're gonna acquiesce to,
Right.
right? Or they're like, okay, fine, we will buy Boeing products. Okay, we'll buy farm goods again, and it's like, okay, well, I'm negotiating with you. I'm giving something.
Yeah. So I look at this now. I can't get over the whether it's Trump, whether it's his team, whoever's been feeding into him over the last little bit, as to the breadth of the understanding that I didn't necessarily, maybe you did, I don't know, take away from the COVID period of how vulnerable we were in
Oh
terms of
yeah.
our manufacturing. Now, I did start saying a year and a half ago, Larry and I had a couple of arguments about it, that I thought what we should be concentrating on, it was strategic manufacturing. So I did get that part right. And I'm really glad that that's what they are very much concentrating on. But I mean, I never thought for a minute about the pills, about how dependent we are on pills, and that's a strategically consequential issue. And even though I did a post on it the other day that India makes about 40%, no, I think it's more than 50% of the pills themselves, the precursors are all made in China.
Mhm.
So the fact that when I say all, that's hyperbole. It's not really all, but the great majority of the precursors are made in China. And so we're done. I mean, there's hardly any of these pills that are made in the United States are outside of those two places.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I mean, I really don't have anything to add to that. I agree with you. I think COVID was a slap in the face. I mean, it was, hey, we got to get our situation in order over here. It's fine to trade and let other countries do what they do best, but at the end of the day, we should be self-sustained.
Yeah,
Not every country is going to be like that, and I would say not even just us. I think at least we need to be able to be self-sustained with our allies, but
close
I would
allies.
say we live in a little bit of a weird world where if we want, here's the problem. I would love to just be able to say with a blanket statement, as long as the precursors, the pills, the battery minerals, all that are done in a country that we're allied with, all good.
Mhm.
The problem is that we see too many of these countries going down some weird routes, like not being for free speech,
Right.
hunting people down based social media apps. Like all these like little things, allowing China to come in to do certain things,
Yeah.
um, buying oil from Russia, like Germany was. If the problem is that if we do have our manufacture of critical necessities in these other countries just because they're allies, we we lack the ability to be able to say, "Hey, Germany, no,
No.
do
Yeah.
not buy oil from Russia." Or like, are you crazy? Are you stupid? Like this, where in what world does this make sense?
Yeah.
Or if we or have a dependency on Britain.
Mhm.
Hey, Britain, no, you cannot go hunt down Americans because of their social media
Right.
posts. That's insane. What are you doing? But if we're all of a sudden dependent on them, we don't have that leverage. So when it comes to the critical things, I kind of think that we do need to make them ourselves.
We're
Not
going.
everything, but the
Yep.
most critical things.
So Brian Wang and I are going to do a series of videos. I don't know if there'll be one or two or three or four, but we are going to take a look at the items, or not just the items in terms of manufacturing, but all of the things that we think that the Trump administration should be putting like as moonshot things, things that need to be done before he gets out of office. I mean, just to
Mm.
give an example of one is, we've got three reactors now going down in Oregon. I mean, I'm sorry, in yeah, sure, in just by you there. It's Georgia. We have three. The third reactor, they just got it started a couple months ago. They're going to put in a fourth and a fifth. But what? But the Trump administration say, you know what? We need 20 of these, not four, not five, not six. We need 20 of these reactors. We know how to do it. You've done it. You've permitted them. You've got the infrastructure. Let's go. And so Brian, who's done a huge amount of background work on nuclear reactors, both the minis and the full size. That'll be one of our subjects that we're going to go into. What would it take to be totally invested and moving really strong by the end of the Trump term in terms of providing nuclear energy for the United States? So, a
Mm.
whole series of those will be coming up. I think to allow it to be still almost done when he leaves office would be a really bad thing. It needs to be it needs to be so far along that there's no turning back.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Okay, well, let's look at where the markets are now. That bad, huh? Well, okay. So so we've got Tesla's only down 1.59%. That's not horrible.
Yeah.
We're still at
Well,
250. That's kind of the, what do you call it? That's kind of its resting point.
it's definitely a resting point.
Okay, so all right. So bonds still up in the after hours, 1.4. So, but we're at 4.337, the 10-year. So that's way better than 4.495 or whatever it was the other day. What's it going to take to get the bonds down?
Uh, Probably some deals being announced.
Some deals being announced. Good idea.
Yeah.
I think you're
Or
right.
more inflation data.
Yeah,
I would say, well, maybe it's because we haven't spoken in a week, but inflation data has been just beautiful.
absolutely. 100%.
And I mean, well, I know you're about to get to it, so I don't want to jump the gun, but looking at oil, man, inflation data is going to get even better.
Okay, so let's see here. So you're moving to the next slide. Okay, let's go. It is oil is it's up 2 cents in the pre-market. 61.35. Again, you and I talk about this every week, but this is a good price. I'm perfectly happy with 61.35.
That's a great price. I mean, like everything's going to be affordable. The oil part of it will be out of the out of the inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. So oil would remain solid with regard to inflation. Gas prices have a long way to come down. They hadn't come down yet really as much as they could based on the normal, which happens. It takes a few months for sometimes for gas to join oil, but I think you'll see the gasoline prices now come down.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, year over year, we're going from like $85
yeah.
down to 60.
Yeah. Right.
Like that's a huge difference that will ripple across
Right.
all of the inflation numbers.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because again, it's in everything. And then natural gas also now down to $3.30. So that is, it was up around $4 just a couple of months ago, just a few weeks ago. So now down to $3.30. So could go under $3. It wouldn't be abnormal. Um, Gold up 1980 in the pre-market, 3,260. So Larry thinks we're going to go 3,300. Some people think we're going to go even higher than that. Do you think gold is over its skis? I do.
I do, but I think it can stay over skis a lot longer than I can bet against it.
Okay. So you think it could go higher before it goes lower?
There's no reason to think it can't.
Okay. All right. Okay. Silver, just under its $35, sitting at 32.33. I think it was 35. Was it 34.50 or 35.50 at the high with an asterisk a week or so ago?
35.08 is what I see.
3508. Okay, 3508. So it's got a little ways to go to get back to its high. The interesting thing about silver, I keep reminding people, is that silver is not just a precious metal, it's also an industrial product. And it's an industrial product that's getting used more and more and more as we get into the high tech stuff. It has a lot of applications. So it's probably fairly priced. What do I know? But based on one of the only precious metal I've ever bought was silver. So I bought some silver years ago. Copper, $4.61, right in the middle of the range. Recently, the bellwether, of course, the bellwether product. I've been a little surprised that the future that it has gone up and it's in the high range now. I think $5 and change is its all-time high. So I think it has reacted to the needs for copper that are going to be there for all these data centers. But I'm thinking maybe it's still maybe a little underappreciated for that future.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
The dollar mixed right now, but it's not going down as it has been going down. Any thoughts on the dollar?
Um, no, not really. I actually think the dollar is doing decent. Um, yeah,
Okay. Bitcoin, kind of where it's been for the last few days, $84,
yeah.
83,622, no real change there. Okay, and then we have the futures on they're not that bad. Well, the Nasdaq, so the Nasdaq's down 1.27. That's not the end of the world. S&P down 0.81 and the Dow is down 0.38.
Well, what are you looking at? Just futures here.
Yeah,
Um, 18. Yeah, that's as long as we stay above 17,700,
on
I'm
the
good.
on the Nasdaq.
Yeah,
Okay, is that a trigger?
it's just a lot of trades I have. I have a lot of
Oh,
trades
I see.
above.
It's
Yeah,
always
so I
about
trade futures as
always
well.
about you.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. So all my Nasdaq futures are 17,700. So as long as we stay above that, Nick is a happy guy.
All right. So I read the other day that Tesla was at a no, a death cross. So did you pay any attention to Tesla's death cross the other day?
What does that even mean?
I thought that was some kind of a technical thing. Don't you know about these technical things?
New to me.
Oh, okay.
Um,
On Monday, there was all kinds of articles saying that Tesla was at a death cross or some kind of
ah,
cross.
if anything, I would say the opposite. We're seeing higher lows,
Okay.
lower highs. We're compressing.
Yeah, no, I've actually noted about three or four different technical analysts on YouTube that are all extremely bullish right now on the technicals on Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got a lot of covered calls on right now.
Yeah.
I think the stock's gonna go down after earnings.
Yeah,
No way in hell will I have those covered calls going into earnings.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, they expire on April 25th. I will
Uh-huh.
be out of them before
Or April 20.
April 22nd. Well, before the end of market close on April 22nd.
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I
So,
hear you. I hear you. All right. As I always ask you, any final words of wisdom for the crowd?
um, yeah. I think I think it's a really great time to. This is not investment advice
Yeah.
by any means, but I think it's a really great time to start thinking about taking big risks, especially if you're. I'm just gonna say like my age or younger,
Yeah.
especially if you're younger than me. If I was talking to a younger version of myself right now, and I was in this moment in time, I would be telling myself, go sell your car, sell your house, get as much money as you can, put it into Tesla, put it into Amazon, put it into Facebook, put it into Nvidia, go get a second, third job, throw all your money into those as well. Have enough to be able to eat,
Yeah. Yeah.
live off rice, beans, and cereal.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of moment that will make you filthy rich, in my opinion. We are have this huge market pullback, a lot of uncertainty causing depressed prices, while we're also on the verge of the internet with AI,
Yes.
right? Internet like moment.
And the golden
It
age.
is, yes,
You
it
got
is
the
literally,
golden age. You got Tesla, and you've got the AI, everything. I mean, holy mackerel. It's all
yeah, and all that with this huge pullback.
right. Right.
It is ripe for people to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so that's all I would say. Not investment advice, but that's how I'm looking at it. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now is if we sell off after earnings,
Mhm.
my plan is to completely liquidate my Roth IRA, and I will take every last dollar and put it into Tesla Leaps.
Oh, interesting.
So that is a, so like I'm not just saying this,
Yeah, that's your
without,
plan. Yeah.
that's my plan. That's my big risk. I've got lots of other risks I've got
Yeah.
going on right now. I trade a lot. I've got lots of leaps. I do a lot of things, but that's my more aggressive risk.
Gotcha.
Um, so yeah, those are my
Very
final
interesting.
thoughts.
All right. Okay. On that note, let's see. How can I do that into a thumbnail? Hey, as always, Nicholas, so happy to have you on Tuesdays. And next Tuesday is going to be a big, big day. So
It will.
we'll be
And
very excited to have you on next Tuesday.
why don't we just tease this out real quick?
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm going to be joining you and what's his face? Yeah.
Herbert.
Herbert. Yeah, I always have trouble with Herbert's name. He doesn't look like a Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert and I, we every Wednesday, Herbert, I, myself, and Brian, but Brian's in China right now, testing all of the FSD competitors. We we co-stream on our independent channels, but this time Randy will have the opportunity to give it a 2-on-1 for once, rather than the two Seattle guys on the one Florida guy. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, speaking of that, Brian, who's in China, will be on my channel at 7:45 tonight.
Oh, amazing!
I know he couldn't join you because it's the middle of the night when you'll be doing that, but he will be on later tonight on this channel.
Beautiful.
So, okay, listen, thanks as always, Mr. Nicholas Gibbs. It has been great having you, and to all of you, it's been great talking to you as well.
Cheers.